Hello everyone and welcome back to Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. Today we are joined with Brianna and Tim, who are going to share their story of adopting through Adoptions from the Heart. So welcome, guys.
Hi, good to be here.
So why don't you guys start from the beginning of when you first started talking about building your family and what led you to Adoptions from the Heart?
Oh, it was years ago. After we got married, we wanted to have kids. We had some setbacks health-wise, and we just came to the realization that the way we would have to move forward was through adoption.
It took us a while to get there, though.
Yeah,
It took us a while. Like, it was...
Well, can we, can't we?
Yeah. Is it the right decision? And with my health issues, it took us a few years to get there. I think right around the time of COVID, we made the decision and then had trouble moving forward during COVID. And then I think finally, towards the end of all the fun of the pandemic, we started doing our research and really just fell in love with what we learned about from adoptions.
What specifically about this agency drew you in? Like, why did you go that route?
I think it wasn't until the info seminar that we really decided that this was the agency. We were uncertain because it was open. We weren't sure what that meant yet. We weren't sure the commitment that it was going to entail, and we weren't sure if we were ready for it at first, versus what you know of closed or private adoptions, and we didn't know, right? And then I think at the info session, just listening, I think at one point after probably the first 20 minutes or so, we just started looking at each other and smiling, and we realized that this felt right. And it was, for me, it was hearing about all of the work that is put in up front for the birth mother, in helping understand options, in giving resources, in giving just education. It's giving me chills. But it was when you guys said that it was the best decision for the child, and that's the outcome that the agency was looking for. And maybe that didn't mean always placement. And that just really, really just sat with me, and I think really struck me and impressed me.
I appreciate you saying that, because it's hard for folks who are looking to become parents when the focus is obviously becoming parents, to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who just gave birth and is choosing adoption, or a birth father who is supporting his partner in choosing adoption. So for you to recognize that early on and ultimately choose an organization that you felt serviced that and the values that we have in terms of birth parents is really important, because adoption can sometimes be very just happy and we're building families and we're becoming parents and there's babies and like all this great stuff, but there's other layers to it that people don't really recognize. You didn't just walk in and there was a baby on the shelf that we handed you, right? It's not quite that simple. And I appreciate that you learned that early on at the informational meeting.
I think I was really intimidated by the idea of open adoption, and I turned a full 180 at that meeting, just learning about how important it is for the kid, for our son Gabe, to have that relationship where he's been able to meet his birth mother. He's met his birth mother's parents. You know, we went to a restaurant with the three of them, and her dad just was so thrilled to be able to carry Gabe around and, you know, let him see. There were bubbles right at the restaurant.
So he chased them every time someone got whatever special meal. He would go chase where the bubbles went with the clapping and go show Gabe all the bubbles.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because that always happens where families that are a little maybe more hesitant or just not as aware are the ones who end up in a really open adoption. And they're like, wow, if we only knew back then. But that's magical that your child's able to experience that and have relationships with not just birth parent, but extended birth family, right? Because open adoption has grown. It's not just about birth mom, birth father, but there are other people involved. Take us back to your initial going through the process and becoming active and going through the wait period. How long did you guys wait before you actually got the call?
Not long at all.
10 months. Yeah.
Well, oh no, we waited 10 months
through the
before we were
process.
active. Yeah.
Well, both. From
Okay.
start to when you were matched, you said it was about 10 months?
I think it was about, yes, so it was about 9 months going through the process.
Okay.
I'm not going to say someone was a little eager. Someone was a little eager. And we tried to kind of, not rush through, but we tried to meet every deadline that we thought we could set to try to get through the process. And then it was a month to the day that we were waiting, and we were actually active on the list that we got the call. So.
And that's pretty typical. It normally takes on average anywhere between 6 months to a year, about from when you first apply to when you become active, just depending on how fast you move through the process. I know you guys were initial during COVID times, which made things just a little more difficult. But once you became active, you only waited a month till you got that call. That's definitely not as common, but very happy for you guys. And did your birth parent choose you?
Yes.
They did. Okay. What was that experience like, getting that call and moving through with placement and being handed this little boy?
Tears.
Yeah, it was just, it's almost indescribable. It just, you guys told us, live your lives, do everything that you need to do, and we had vacation scheduled the next week. We had out of country. We had like different things going on. We had family events. And actually, we were getting ready for a service, a memorial service. That morning, we got the call.
It was, my prior month had been very difficult. We lost my grandmother and my uncle, and we got the call, and it was going to be a very sad day. And we got that phone call, and it turned everything around. And you had a lot of family in town because of the memorial, and we pulled the impacted cousins aside, and we said, listen, we know this day is going to be hard for you guys, but we also knew that this would cheer up the kids, your cousins, and we told them outside of everybody else, and we left it up to them if they wanted to share the news, and they wanted to share the news, and it was just insane. Like, we had your entire family rally around us, and it became a celebration of life in multiple ways, and I think it kind of changed things for a lot of your family members too, because it was, they're like, look what happens, like the end of a cycle, the beginning of one.
And today, what is life like with your family and their support of you being parents and your son and the openness that you have?
Incredible.
Yeah, everybody loves him so much. I said to your sister the other day, cousins are gold and Gabe is rich.
Like the amount of support. So his babysitters are his older cousins.
Yeah.
They come up and put him to bed, and he could say one of their nicknames, I think at around like 9 months, 10 months. He could say Lala. Yeah. And he knew, like, that was he said that's his favorite cousin if you ask her.
Yeah.
But they're also responsive to him. They love to play with him. They love to see, they're all amazed. If it's been a week or 2 weeks since the last time they saw him, like, he has more words now. What? He just asked me to pick him up. He asked for that food. He knows more. He can, like, they're just all amazed at his growth, and they're excited for him. They want to celebrate him. And I just am still in awe and so grateful about the support that we have from our families. It's great.
Now, without getting into too much detail, I know when you guys were placed, there was some stuff that went on with ICPC, and it kind of extended your wait period before being approved to come back to Delaware. Talk to us about that time, because that's a big topic. Families are educated, they're prepared for the unknowns of what may happen, and just all that happens at the placement time when you travel to another state. But you guys did have a lot going on. What got you through that, and what advice would you have for other families just to prepare for the unknowns of what may happen?
Well, we got each other through it, and having Gabe was, there was that glow, that magic that pushed us through it. But
family.
Yeah. There was a setback about a week and a half, 2 weeks in, where we ended up being pushed out another 10 days before we could go back home. So we went to we moved into Brianna's aunts for about 10 days.
Yeah.
And I was in tears at their dining room table with them and their kids, just because I was so grateful. We were both so grateful that we had them. It was in addition to having Gabe for the two of us, it was an incredible reminder of how much so many people love us and love Gabe.
That is all true.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go back to the process.
Okay, the process. Got it. That was I talked about what got us through it, but yeah.
You're always the sweet one. I'm like, okay, well, we planned for this. So the practical side of it, that was a difficult time. We had read the documents, we had worked with you guys, and we had 2 weeks ready to go, right? So we had 24 hours notice. So we found a hotel for the first few nights so that we could get situated. We were in Scranton, so we weren't familiar. So we had to quickly learn the area. So we made sure our accommodations were a hotel so we could get things figured out. And then we immediately looked into Airbnbs once we were up there, got to know the area. But I think one of the things we didn't know, so because of our situation, it was filed in one state, the state where he was born, and that was not the correct state because of the situation with the birth family. So while you guys were figuring that out and working with the lawyers across the different states, our job was to be patient, but also figuring out the accommodations. So I think we didn't know that we thought we had to stay in that city and state. But after talking with you guys, after working with ICPC, we realized we could go back to any state but our home state. So that was a little bit of something that we were surprised about, but that also helped us in figuring out affordable options. Because we had ended up staying, I think, in an Airbnb closer to home, but still in Pennsylvania between, I guess, the hotel and the Airbnb. We spent a decent amount of money on accommodations. The Airbnb at the longest. We were there for just over a week. And at that point, when we realized we were possibly going to be waiting another week or two, we realized we probably needed some more affordable accommodations, and we called family. And my aunts had enough space in their home. It was in Jersey, but they were able to take us in at very short notice. Even a friend took us in overnight for one night in Philly, just to help give my aunts more space. And they took us in, no questions asked. And I would say, add that into any plans that anyone is making. Find out what family could accommodate you and a newborn in a last minute situation. Because I think no matter how much planning we had, we needed a washer, a dryer, there were, a kitchen. We needed accommodations for having a newborn and being first-time parents, and we needed space too. So thankfully, like I said, family came in and saved the day for us. And we ended up staying with them the rest of the wait period that we had, and then finally we were able to go home.
Yeah, I mean, that practicality stuff is important to realize, because I think it's one thing to envision what this will look like when we're going through the educational process, but then when you're actually in it and you recognize the different things that you have to deal with and plan for as much as you can, and then all that's out the window when we're like, oh, you've got to move here. It can be a lot. But I remember being on I think it was a Zoom call with you guys, and I forget where you were at that point. But I remember, and I think it was you, Brianna, who said, because we were just talking it through, and I know you guys were very frustrated, but you were being as patient as you could. And I just remember you saying, well, there's no alternative. It's not like we're going to give him back. We love him enough that we will just have to make it work.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, she gets it. Like, it sucks. It's annoying. It's frustrating. There's expenses associated with it, your family, all this stuff. But you knew in your hearts, this is just how it has to go, because this is a part of our story. This is a part of us becoming a family, and Gabe meant more to you in that moment than any of the other stuff. But I appreciate you talking about some of that practical stuff, because people don't always think about that when they're going through the process. Lean on your agency, lean on your social worker, try to talk through it as much as you can of what the game plan will be once you are matched and potentially in any of the states that we're licensed in, so that you know what your plan can be, just to try to smooth it out as much as you can. But you guys really did go through a lot, and I think it showed your commitment to your son and to this process.
I don't think we had the chance to thank you though for you and ICPC's patience with us too, because there was a lot of calls that we started at that point where we're like, any update, and then it was just automatic tears.
Yeah, I mean,
So thank you for that.
You're welcome, but it's a lot on families, and it's one thing for us to say, well, go over there and wait 10 days. 10 days being displaced from your home is a really big deal.
Yeah.
You're away from your comfort zone. You're new parents. Like, there's a lot involved with that. So we understand. You know, you guys did the best that you could, and it'll be a great memory to share with Gabe.
There's a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
A lot of pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to share with our community about your experience? Any other advice you may have for families as they are preparing for placement?
I think one of the things that we're working on doing better at right now is we want to get more involved with the community. So we're looking to jump on and see when we can fit in time to do some of the other Zoom sessions, just so we can talk with other parents. And we have lots of friends and family, incredibly supportive. We've learned a lot of people were adopted since we've gone through this process, and we've publicized it. So we've shared our journey a lot with folks in our life, just because of the process we've been through. But we want to also make sure that we're still a part of this community here. So that's something we're working on, trying to find time to squeeze in, because we want this community as well. And you guys meant so much to us going through this process. You guys were so supportive. We just want to figure out how we can still be a part of that, and then make sure this is a part of Gabe's life too.
Absolutely. I appreciate you saying that, because life gets busy, right? Your parents, there's a lot going on, but the fact that you want to still connect with this adoption community, with our agency, with other families, is important. It's important to the foundation of who you guys are as a family. And I think that's wonderful. I highly recommend coming to our agency picnics. It's a nice initial, like, okay, every year we do this. It's a reminder of just where we have come from in terms of our building our family. And as you mentioned, there's a ton of events that we have that you can participate in person, via Zoom. We welcome you for all of that, and I look forward to seeing your faces. And now that I know that you're really interested, you're going to be on my list of, okay.
Yeah, we'll take all the reminders.
Wonderful to hear. Well, we appreciate you guys sharing your story. It's always helpful for our community to hear firsthand from folks who have been through it. Please feel free to reach out to Adoptions from the Heart and continue to tune into future episodes. Thank you so much.